Is this really all they had to worry about? Boys, movies, deciding which shirt goes with which skirt. It's bizarre.
Get up. We're leaving. Come on.
And if I say no?
Do you even realize what your life means? Huh? Running off like that, putting yourself at risk? It's pretty goddamn stupid.
Well, I guess we're both disappointed with each other then.
What do you want from me?
Admit that you wanted to get rid of me the whole time.
Tommy knows this area.
Oh,
better
fuck
than...
that.
Well, I'm sorry. I trust him better than I trust myself.
Stop with the bullshit. What are you so afraid of? That I'm gonna end up like Sam? I can't get infected. I can take care of myself.
How many close calls have we had?
Well, we seem to be doing all right so far.
And now you'll be doing even better with Tommy.
Not her, you know.
What?
Maria told me about Sarah.
Ellie?
And
You are treading on some mighty thin ice here.
I'm sorry about your daughter, Joel. But I have lost people too.
You have no idea what loss is.
Everyone I have cared for has either died or left me. Everyone fucking except for you. So don't tell me that I would be safer with someone else, because the truth is I would just be more scared.
You're right. You're not my daughter. And I sure as hell ain't your dad.
Hello there, and welcome to PlayStation Pals, a video game podcast. This is episode 37, and I am your host, Nick, and I'm joined by the Kuma to my Cammy, John. John, I know you don't listen to the intro to this, but I added the patented PlayStation Bing sound. Do you know why I did that?
No, why did you do that, Nick?
Because the creator of that sound died.
Oh, he just died. I did see
10
that.
days ago. Toru Okada.
Right.
And hearing that sound, it's iconic. Like, every PlayStation ad starts with it. So even if I'm like in another room and I hear it, I'm like, oh, what PlayStation ad?
Yeah, I've seen you many times like perk up when it happens. That's fair.
And as far as marketing, that's an amazing feat, right? To associate a sound with your entire platform that everyone knows when it comes, like what that means.
Or he Pavloved us. You know, Pavlov's dog, where they ring the bell, they get food. That thing. That's what they did to us. You know, ring the bell. What? Video games? What?
Yeah.
So yeah, R.I.P. man. That's a very important part of the PlayStation brand for sure.
Yeah. So I think it's gonna be part of the beginning of our podcast for a little bit here, in honor of him, and to get everyone else to, when they hear it, think of PlayStation Pals now instead.
Okay.
Just
yeah. We'll just slide right. We'll just slide right in there. Yeah. It'll only take a good 25, 30 years, but we'll get there.
Yeah. All right, let's move into the show, because we got a packed show because somebody actually had a showcase this week, and I'm really eager to talk about it.
Wait. Don't use the word showcase, Nick.
Okay,
that's a little...
State of play.
Okay, better.
Okay.
Better.
This is how our show works. Each of us bring 3 things to talk about. It can be a video game we're playing, an email to PlayStationPalsPod@gmail.com, a news topic, any topic really, a DM to PSPalsPod on Twitter. Any of those things, we bring it and we talk about it. And in regards to the first topic, this state of play, I guess, John, this is going to be our last episode of the show.
Why? What happened?
Because, when we were doing the Defcon level, we were like, there's no way that they're going to have a state of play the week that PSVR 2 launches. You don't want to take away from the launch of your $550 piece of hardware. They can't do that. So
let's unveil more games after it comes out to really, curb our pre-order numbers. Yeah. Good idea, guys.
Yeah. So, and it was, Tuesday? They announced it for Thursday.
Yeah.
The new MO of the Nintendo Direct style, where you announce it and it's there and it's You can't even like think about it. We can't even have a predictions episode because it came and it went.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very pleased and mad at the same time. So, if they want to keep doing this, that's cool. But for all of us, amateur podcasters out there, throw us a bone, Jim Ryan. Come on, give us a little bit of prep work, a little bit of a chance to compete with these big boys.
Yeah, and I wonder if it has something to do with just the the leaks, which they've been plagued with before. That they're just like, well, it's all by the seat of their pants.
Yeah, I mean, I subscribe to that notion that ever since the release of Cyberpunk, I really do think that was the genesis of this shift in the industry of just everything is closer to the vest. If we can hold it, keep it. If you can, launch it as short of a time as possible between announcement and launch, do it. So I think this just could kind of line up with that philosophy. It's just like, yeah, video games are more popular obviously than they've ever been. We don't need to drum up excitement. Like when we post this shit, it's gonna spread and we're not gonna see any drop in viewership for it. So right. I think it's something along those lines. Sure,
probably. But let's go through it. We'll save our overall thoughts at the end, but we'll go through each individual announcement.
Sure.
In order, except for this first part, because they did sneak this in here. The PlayStation Plus Essential games for March are as of following: Battlefield 2042 by Dutch, 65 on OpenCritic. Minecraft Dungeons from Mojang, 74 on OpenCritic. And Code Vein by Bandai Namco at a 75 on OpenCritic. Do you have any additional things to add to these three titles? Code Vein's kind of the weird one. It's just a third Souls game anime version.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is obviously one of the worst months we've seen in a while, and it's also probably I hope it's not a sign that they're going to start tailoring back a little bit on Essentials, but I think it's more just because they're, as we'll talk about coming up here in a second, is Chia is coming day and date 2 extra. And we're probably seeing, we aren't privy to these numbers, but I would imagine most of the people that they care about as a corporation are in the extra tier anyway. So,
sure.
It's fine. When I saw this, I didn't get excited at all, but I thought for at least a quick second that Minecraft Dungeons might be a cool game to play with my 6-year-old. So,
sure.
Might have that at least.
Sure. And then moving on, we also got a sneak peek into the extra games for March, as you mentioned, and which we'll talk about a little later because they got a trailer. Chia is going to be a day one launch, similar to Stray. So if you're subscribed to PlayStation Plus Extra, you get that game on release day, which will be March 21st for all these games.
Love it.
Included in that were a couple more teases. We got Rainbow Six Extraction, Immortals Phoenix Rising, Ghostwire Tokyo, and Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Collection. John, do you have anything to add to any of those games?
No, obviously, if you haven't played Uncharted, I don't know why you're listening to this podcast. And
yeah,
no, I mean, I'm excited for Chia. I mean, I think what we've seen in these past couple trailers in the last week look really promising. I think it's going to be a nice chill experience with some, if the soul jumping mechanic where you can basically take control of an animal, or sometimes even it seems inanimate objects like a boulder or something. I think it could be pretty cool. I like physics-based games, and one thing that specifically stood out to me was, she I think launched a coconut. She used a tree to slingshot a coconut across a river, and then soul jumped into the coconut right after she launched it to get herself across the river. I was like, oh, that's really if they can replicate that over and over and over again to kind of have a cool sense of mobility or what have you, I think it could be a nice little romp. At least certainly better than Stray, obviously.
Oh yeah.
So,
well, I guess we'll find out. But yeah, that idea of a playground where there are multiple ways to tackle a puzzle. Maybe you possess a bird and you could have gotten across and stuff like that. That's a fun concept, and again, it's always good for these games. I don't think very many people are going to be drawn to this game, even though it does look very pretty and it has neat mechanics. Putting it on Extra will just put a big spotlight on it.
Yeah, we'll just see if it gets nominated for every single Game of the Year award again, just like Stray did. Sorry, I'll lower my salt levels.
All right.
It was 9 months ago, John. 9 months ago.
Yeah. But let's get into the actual the announcements from the show. They they previewed before the show even started that we knew ahead of time we were getting 5 VR titles. There was going to be third parties there, and then we were going to get 15 minutes of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. And so they kicked the thing off with that exactly the 5 VR titles. And those 5 were these are all coming in this year. They're not out yet. The Foglands by Well Told Entertainment, Synapse by InDream Studio, Green Hell VR by Incuvo, Journey to Foundation by Archeot, and Before Your Eyes by Goodbye World Games. John, did any of these look good to you?
You know, it's really hard to get a sense of a VR game, at least maybe because we have so much less experience with it than we do standard console gaming. So it's hard to say that any of these jumped out to me. What I will say is I think the Foglands, I like that it was more than just shooty, which it seems to be like a lot of these VR games are still. You know, was that the one where you kind of had magic in one hand, right? And you had your gun in the other and you could do stuff. So like that could be kind of cool. And then just literally the fact that Journey to Foundation is based on Isaac Asimov's sci-fi series. I haven't personally read them, but I have a lot of friends who have. And if you don't know what this series is, it's kind of regarded as one of those really, really, really important sci-fi stories that kind of started to develop the genre itself. I believe it was written back in the 50s. So super important story from what I've heard. It's excellent. If they can, kind of capture some of the storytelling in that, which I think will be tough from a VR game, but it might be possible, then I think that could be cool because we haven't really seen anything narrative to blow people away in VR. That's not what it's there for. It's there to, immerse you, to kind of show you little cool tricks that you can do. So I don't know what the direction of that will be, but I find it interesting that it is tied to a very literary kind of thing from a series written back in the 50s. So something to kind of look at least.
Yeah, that game did look interesting until you started shooting and playing it, and then it did not look great. It had some frame rate issues, and none of these look that great to me. They're not a reason to buy in yet, unfortunately.
No, I will say also, just to touch upon Before Your Eyes real quick, apparently this was a 2021 indie game, so this is getting ported to PSVR 2, and it was very highly regarded, and it has a really cool mechanic that could only be done in VR, I think, where basically you're a recently deceased person, and you're kind of reliving your life through vignettes and things like that, but every time you literally blink, the scene changes, which is cool. Like if that's like you're kind of living your life through your eyes, like that could be a short, I imagine it's like a 2 or 3 hour thing, but if you're into artsy fartsy things, it could be okay.
Yeah, that actually does have some potential. Sounds like a What Remains of Edith Finch kind of story, just reliving your life.
I love me some new video game mechanics, man. New video game mechanics. Always cool.
Yeah, but again, we have a segment now. We're countdown to when John actually purchases this. Is any of these 5 are any of these going to push you over?
No.
Okay.
No, I think there was a lot of people, myself included, that was kind of expecting like, oh, you guys are doing a state of play the week it comes out. Oh, you are going to have some games here. Well, surely they're going to show a new Astrobot game or the pie in the sky that everybody won't stop talking about. Again, myself included, Half-Life Alyx. And until one of those two are shown, I feel pretty firm in my resolve, Nick. I think I can do it, unless if one of those two are shown. Now, I will say, we've spoken with some friends who have been playing Resident Evil, and like the things that they've been telling me about that is more likely to get me to buy this than any of these new releases are. So it's still possible, but I'm waiting on those 2 big specific announcements.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
It seems like all the advertising for VR has been Resident Evil 8 VR, Gran Turismo 7 VR, and Call of the Mountain, and then everything else just.
Yeah, and that's so interesting to me from just like where we are with VR as it stands. It's just we're still in very early on, right? This medium has really only been popular for 7-8 years at the most. So we're still in the infantile ages, but we need to start seeing things more than just 2 floaty hands and dual wielding pistols. Like we have to start getting some meatier things, I think. Astrobot Rescue VR again. It did things with that headset that I to this day haven't seen from anything else. Blowing into the controller to use a fan in game to move Astro across a gap is like I haven't like still to this day I haven't seen anything quite that creative. So we need to see some more of that kind of stuff, not just shooty.
Yeah, and they still have the rest of the year. We don't know what the
For sure.
big VR titles will be for the second half of this year, so there's still time.
And it wasn't in the state of play. And I don't know if you have any plans to mention this during the podcast, Nick, but they did say with Resident Evil 4 there is VR coming to that too as well, right?
Yes, I didn't really look into that article because that seems weird that they wouldn't have that here. But
Yeah,
that's not surprising. I would 100% like why wouldn't they do that?
Right. Yeah. So I mean, there is definitely if you are into shitting your pants in a virtual space, there's plenty for you to do there. But it's still growing. There's still room to grow.
Yeah.
And I think we'll see that.
All right, so let's move on. We got a trailer for Destiny 2 Lightfall. This is coming out Tuesday, February 28th. John and I do not play this, but it's there. It's coming.
This was as close as it ever got me to want to play it. That character design of the weird alien with smoke head floating through space was like just super cool to me, and I was just reading a little bit about it. Apparently this is like a 10-year build-up moment that's happening in this expansion. So
it's the darkness.
I'm not gonna play it, but yeah, this was as close as I ever been like, maybe I will just drop every single other video game I'll ever play and just play Destiny. But yeah,
it is a completely free weekend for Destiny. All expansions are open this weekend, so if you're in I don't know how you're going to play it all through them all in time, but if you wanted to check it out, now is a good weekend. It's a free-to-play game anyway, so you can always check it out. But that was there. The next game is a very interesting one. It is called Humanity, and it is coming May 2023 from Enhanced and Tetsuya Mizuguchi, who is responsible for Rez and I'm blanking on the other one.
Tetris Effect.
Tetris Effect. And this game is coming to all platforms, including PS5 and PSVR 2. It is a very weird-looking game. It is a puzzle game where you're leading a bunch of human bodies as a Shiba Inu, a dog. And it has a bunch of like physics-based puzzles. You're pretty much directing them around the map. It reminds me a lot of the game in Ratchet and Clank, the PS5 one, where you're leading the Clanks around to get to the end goal. It looks a lot like that, but it looks interesting. It does have a demo now. You can actually play this on the PlayStation Store. So if this interests you at all, you can check it out. But John, do you have any thoughts on this one?
No, I'm gonna check out the demo. I mean, I typically am not drawn to puzzle games, but once in a blue moon, one breaks through, and I find it fun. And this one looks like it just could set up some scenarios where you're like, oh, I can do this, and then it does that, and then it does this, and then they bouncing all over, and it's like, I did it. So I might check it out. But I'm glad you brought up the Ratchet and Clank thing, Nick. Like that's exactly what I thought as well. And then the other comparison I've seen, if you're an old school gamer, is the old game Lemmings, where you're kind of just leaning a bajillion things around to get through levels. So I would have high expectations for this one, though. I mean, Res Infinite 88 on OpenCritic, Tetris Effect 90 on OpenCritic. I mean, this is a developer who makes high quality things. So I would expect this to be pretty damn good when it comes out.
Yeah, and by bajillions, there are bajillions. There's like a bajillion people on the screen at once.
So many.
Please watch this trailer, even if what we're saying doesn't interest you. It's something else. And then the next trailer we got was Goodbye Volcano High. This is coming June 15th of this year from Co-op. It's like an anthropomorphic, almost like a Don't Nod game or a Telltale game, but it's got like mini games and conversations, and it's hard to put a finger on what single genre I would put this in, but it does. It's doing a lot.
I've heard rhythm visual novel. That's what I've heard.
Okay,
yeah,
that's
rhythm
really
visual
accurate.
novel.
Because there's singing, like you have a band or a character has a band. I don't know if that's specifically you, but there was a lot of music playing. Any interest in this one?
No, I don't typically like, I tend to contradict myself a lot on this show. So as I'm about to contradict myself because I'm going to talk about a solely narrative game later, I don't typically get drawn to those very well. And the art style is very pretty. I like the clean lines everywhere. The characters seem like they have a lot of personality, but I just have a feeling this is going to be I don't know how the most sensitive way to say this is. Not for me.
Okay.
It's just, it's going to be probably targeted towards a younger demographic and kids trying to figure out life for themselves and things like that. And I'm 33, man. I've figured out life. I've been beaten down one too many times to try and have any hope left in life. So, I do like the idea that seemingly from kind of what I gleaned from the trailer was that they have a deadline on life. Basically, it seems like a comet or something is coming towards Earth. Much like how the dinosaurs went extinct. I think there's a line in the trailer that's something about like, well, we don't only have so much time left. So if that is kind of a mechanic to it, could set up some high emotional moments because hey, we're all gonna fucking die. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's a game to watch out for. We'll see what the reviews are at, and just like Norco, if it reviews like Norco, you might be playing this.
What's Norco, Nick? I'm not going to talk about Norco.
All right.
Yes, we'll see.
Moving on, the next trailer was Chia, which we talked about, so we can move on from that. The next one was Naruto X Boruto, Ultimate Ninja Storm Connections. Yes, another entry in the Ultimate Ninja Storm series 3D fighters. Moving on. That's coming this year. The next trailer was from Larian Studios, the makers of Divinity Original Sin. Currently, they've been working on Baldur's Gate 3, which has been in early access for quite some time. This game is coming to PS5 on August 31st, was the announcement. Any interest in this, John? Famously, John and I tried to play Divinity Original Sin 2 together, and we admittedly did not put a lot of time into it, I think.
No. I am convinced to this day that if we did 10 to 15 hours, we would be addicted and we wouldn't be able to put it down. But that's a big commitment for a man with 3 kids, two twin infants. So we'll see. But first off, Nick, I just got to ask you how much you bidding for this game? How much are you going to bid for this one? Fantasy League.
Is it biddable? I didn't know that.
Oh, it's biddable. Is it sponge-worthy? No, I'm kidding. No, I mean this is a really, really cool trailer. Obviously, if you know Divinity at all, this could almost just be called Divinity Original Sin 3, I feel like, and that's not a bad thing at all. So, that's Baldur's Gate is one of the most storied RPG franchises out there, and I don't think there was any confirmation until this moment that it was in fact coming to consoles. So it's a nice surprise to be able to play it on our preferred place. And like Nick just said, I'm a sucker for review scores. If it reviews high enough, I'll probably figure out a way to let myself down again and buy it. But like looks cool, man. If you're into computer RPGs.
Yeah, it's been in early access for quite some time, so I'm sure when it hits console, it'll hit the ground running as far as being, quite the nice package.
Yeah.
With all the bugs worked out.
I love a good couch co-op. I wish I had some nerdy roommates and I was in college. Like if we were in college, Nick, I'm sure we'd play these kind of games. But I don't have friends anymore.
Aww. You got me, bud. You got your PlayStation pal.
Just Nick and kids. No, but it looks cool. No, I think it's going to be one of the best. I would be surprised if that's not one of the best released games of the year.
Yeah, that's a good prediction.
Yeah.
Next up is Wayfinder, a game that is currently in beta on PS5 and launching in early access in May 2023. This is a third-person RPG with the Fortnite skin. It's been shown before. It was at the Game Awards. I really don't have much to say on this one.
It looks slow, and
it's free to play.
And you said it, man. The Fortnite thing just, it immediately takes me out of it, and that's fine. I'm not the entire demographic of every video game player out there, but it's just, there are one more of these things that I hope that I imagine is probably just going to be forgotten about, but we'll see.
Sure. Yeah, I'm trying to think of the other one, the one that's like Monster Hunter that's just forgettable too.
Dauntless.
Yes, Dauntless. Thank you. Look at you.
Yeah.
Not so forgettable.
Well, I'm a weirdo. Yeah, no, there's a ton of that shit, man, and sometimes it lands its audience. I mean, I'm a fan of health bars and numbers popping. I know a lot of people hate that shit, but I've always liked it.
Mm-hmm.
But no, if I got to do it in this shitty, colorful shit, that sounds so bad. I hate color. Fortnite-y world. I'm kind of out.
Sure, that's understandable. I mean, art style is a big deal when it comes to games, and and you know that they're just trying to imitate the most popular art style out there right now. It's understandable to be turned off.
Fuck
maybe,
you, Epic
but maybe
Games.
the game will be good. Who knows?
Yeah, it
we'll
might
find
be.
out.
Yeah, it might be.
And so we're getting up to a point here. Obviously, it's kind of down at this point. Baldur's Gate 3 is a cool announcement. Humanity was interesting, but thank God, Capcom showed up, because I think they single-handedly.
I feel like Capcom has saved the day for like a couple state of plays before.
Yeah, they're a good partner to have with Sony, because they look keyed to have a really great year. And the first trailer we got from them is for Street Fighter 6. This is coming. It was June 2nd, I believe.
Yep.
And this trailer showed off 3 new fighters, and boy, did they bring the horniness in this trailer. Let me tell you, because it was a trailer for Zangief, Lily, and Cammy. So 3 new fighters enter the ring. This game looks gorgeous. I'm blown away by how pretty it looks and just the animations themselves. John, what did you think of this trailer?
Yeah, I mean, if you are a fighting fan, I don't know how you could, pass up at least checking this game out.
Yeah, especially Zangief's jiggle.
Yeah, you're talking about horniness. Yeah, man, who doesn't want a, mohawk mustachioed Russian wrestler? So, yeah, you got that. Yeah, you got that going for you. But no, it looks great. I have only ever gotten into a fighting game once, Street Fighter 4, I believe it was, back in college. But again, I think just the setting of having roommates and passing sticks and stuff, lends itself well to these games. But I probably will not be checking it out. But I'm curious to see how it does. Street Fighter 5 did not launch very well. It was a pretty bare bones product, and I think they're going to learn their lesson from that. Between probably having a nice meaty roster, and then with the create a character thing that they've kind of shown off. It seems to be a much bigger package that I'm sure will do well under Capcom's new revitalized awesomeness.
Right, and they've been supporting Street Fighter 5 up until this point, pretty much, with content updates. So
yeah,
this should have long legs.
I feel like after I should have been able to listen to myself explain Street Fighter 6, and I might have wanted to bid on it more in the league, because I feel like it's Capcom. They've resurged. Like, when did Street Fighter 5 even come out? That was pre Resident Evil 7, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so that was kind of back in the tail end of Capcom not being amazing.
Right, and I think that game had a rough launch, so I think that they're not going to make the same mistakes twice in this.
No, yeah, that was 2016, and I believe Resident Evil 7 was 2017, which a lot of people kind of agree that was the start of the Capcom resurgence. So yeah, I would expect big things out of this. I just don't want to learn a fighting game, so sorry. They're so hard.
We'll just wait for the inevitable Street Fighter 6
hard.
Championship Edition with all the content inside. And
have you ever actually, I think you said you did this with Injustice, but have you ever played a single player fighting game and then I'm going to try playing online? Have you ever done that?
Yeah, of course.
It's not fun.
I played Injustice too.
Okay.
And could only do it for maybe a week, and then I said I'm done.
Yeah,
and that was funny too, because I have a buddy who is really, really good at the game, as Superman, of course. And me, him, another buddy, and his brother were playing. And I remember his brother being like, "I'm not doing this anymore. This is not fun fighting you guys." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm in the same boat."
Yeah.
This is not fun.
Wow, way to ruin the sleepover, Nick. Jeez.
This is all online.
Yeah,
we were all at our own houses, so it was an online sleepover. But yeah, I'm in the same boat. These games look appealing all the time, but I just my brain just doesn't wrap around how to be really good at them.
No, fucking, calculating frames and knowing exactly how far you can be away from getting hit by something to move it. It's and I'll tell you what, man. the one thing in video games that I simply do not understand is how people can block effectively in fighting games. Like, because you got to block high or block mid or block low, and knowing where they're going to go. And it's just like, I don't know how people either react that fast or just read the movements of I don't know. It's magic to me.
It's for it's younger man eyes. They can do it.
It's craziness. I can't do it. Cannot do it.
Yeah, so after that, we got another trailer for Resident Evil 4. It looks incredible. I mean, all the story beats that we know are there, all the story beats we don't know are in there, all the enemies look incredible. Visually, just wow. There's a lot going on.
It's going to be incredible. And, they had another awesome one-liner from Leon. I think it was like, how about you open fire instead of your mouth? And it's like, yes, those are the lines I want. So, it's going to be amazing. And it's going to be interesting coming off the heels of Dead Space Remake, which I think every single person that's played it kind of applauds it and thinks it's one of the best remakes that's ever been made. So, it's time to see Capcom, who has kind of cemented themselves as the best remake people out there, aside from Bluepoint, who that's what they do. See if they can keep up, see if they can blow people away with what is arguably their most, probably their most, I don't know how to say this, but everybody loves Resident Evil 4, right? Everybody fucking does.
It's one of the greatest games of all time.
Right. Yeah, that's a good way to say it.
Yeah.
So it will be a day one for me, that's for sure.
Yeah, and we're a month away, so it's sneaking up fast. And that was kind of it for the individual trailers and announcements. And
I do want to say there is a demo coming for Resident Evil 4 as well.
Oh yeah, that's
just
right.
a heads up in the weeks ahead. Not a date yet, but there is
that
one
we
coming.
needed that.
Yeah,
this is going to change everything.
Nope. But what my whistle.
Yeah. A game that could really use a demo, though, is Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. As we talked about on this podcast a few episodes ago when there was that leak image of the menu and, everyone was drawn to all the live service elements that look, not only did the menu appear just like any Call of Duty Warzone game or Apex Legends lobby, there was the Battle Pass and everything else. So we mentioned in that very discussion that, when they show this game, they have a lot to explain, right? They have to, because live service is kind of, it's got a negative connotation right now, and especially in the gaming community. They're afraid about being nickeled and dimed on, a bunch of cosmetics and little stuff and characters and all that. And, unfortunately, in this lengthy, over 15 minutes between a extended gameplay trailer and then developers talking about the game, including Sefton Hill, who's no longer with Rocksteady anymore, they really did not do a good job of proving why you should be very wary of this game. This reminded me a lot of Anthem, because just like Anthem, there's a lot of fast movement, a lot of stuff going on. There's just chaos everywhere. You have 4 players doing their own thing. And there's hordes of enemies. They're all bullet spongies. You're getting a lot of kill animations. There's a lot of quick cuts. Like, this isn't even like a straight gameplay trailer where you're just following a character for 2 seconds. There's just tons of quick cuts, so you're not even sure what's really going on. And they got into kind of the loot. They got kind of into percentages of how loot can be increased. I don't know. Like, they name dropped Arkhamverse a couple times, which
Wow.
this is not an Arkhamverse. I mean, set in the same universe, may have the same characters and voices. I saw Nolan North's Penguin in the trailer, but for all the gameplay wise, it's its own thing.
Yeah, dude. The Penguin's just going to be a little marker on your map where it's like, go get a gun. You can go to the Penguin. But man, I am honestly feeling for you right now with this one because, I believe it's been said on the show, but Nick said it to me many times. Arguably his favorite games of all time are the Batman Arkham games. And, so he's been waiting a long, long, long time to see what they're going to be doing next. I believe it's been 8 years since Arkham Knight launched. And so to receive this from that team has gotta feel kind of shitty. And like, I was never gonna be that hyped for this from the get-go. If it received good scores, I would have played it, sure, but I'm not invested in the characters, the world, or anything like that. But I was kind of a little taken aback that the very first big meaty look at this game, they're gonna literally show us everybody shooting at purple orbs. Like, that's a very, very dated gameplay mechanic, and like, that is fine if it's like a side thing, if it's just kind of a little distraction. But it seemed like, no, they're showing us the mission where like the focus is to shoot these purple orbs and then shoot these other purple orbs, and
they're on like every vehicle.
They're on everything, and every single character has the same generic gun. King Shark is just shooting a gun. Harley Quinn is just shooting a gun.
Yeah.
And like, I expected a lot more. I think people expected to get, and there could be a good story beats here. I mean, Wonder Woman comes into the trailer and, kind of has this moment where it seems like Flash was not brainwashed for a moment. It was like, no, you have to kill us all. That's the only way to win. And so there could be some stakes and things there. But like, if the gameplay in between is just like, I'm going to read this from Kotaku. With Harley Quinn and co. bouncing around building tops in a giant sandbox, it looked like a cross between Crackdown 3 and Anthem. That is not great for a Rocksteady game. And both those games, if people are out there don't know, were very shallow, received very poorly, and it's just not what you want to see from a team as truly talented as Rocksteady as we've seen from in the past. But you could also argue that, again, those games were 8 to 10 years ago. There might be 10% of the people still at Rocksteady. Obviously, you said Sefton Hill left, so it might not even be the same group of people anymore. And they got a lot to prove coming up for sure. I think they have a lot of people on the fence now, which is not where you want to be.
Yeah, and I was hoping that they would mention a demo. That was like my hope, because I think you can eat. Well, I mean, letting a kid like Anthem, like that's what sold me that it was going to be bad, and so maybe they don't want it to be a demo.
Hopefully it's not a canary in the coal mine.
I was hoping to get my hands on it. I really like. Does Resident Evil 4 need a demo? Hell no. We know what that is.
Well, it's like putting the trial for Ragnarok into PlayStation Premium. It's like, who needs a trial for this? Like, it's cool it's there, but you don't need a trial for Ragnarok. You've already played that, or you're that's silly, but yeah. Right. Sorry. Are you getting it? Are you getting it? Are you doing it, Nick?
Not a chance. No. Okay. Not even close. It's all that is a wait for reviews. We'll see what happens. But best case scenario, it reviews mid to low 80s. That is. I don't know. Maybe I want to play the story, but even then, maybe I'll just wait. Like, they kind of alluded to with the battle pass that there'll be more characters, more stuff coming, and I was just like,
cool, more characters that shoot the same guns. Like, that's the thing I can't believe is like, you have King fucking Shark, and it's like, I know they showed some animations of probably some super moves where he goes in and he bites people and whatever, but like, I don't know, man. Just having this loot-based system, and when we were watching it, Nick, I told you, I said like, ooh, I'm a sucker for like legendary style loot systems where you find those couple guns that you just can't let go, and I like building sets that give you modifiers, like they mentioned the Bane thing where you shoot people and like then you're equipped with poison, but everything else is just so surface level. I can't imagine that this is a deep game with complex combos and things. Maybe it is. Maybe I'll be proven wrong, but I don't know. I just Arkham City got a 96, dude. A 96. Like, it's in that Breath of the Wild Grand Theft Auto territory. It's insanity. So we'll see.
But as you mentioned, this is not the same team anymore, and this is definitely not the same game. So
no,
everyone has the reaction seems the same from the internet at large. Is very wary of this one. Like,
I've only cooled on it. Like, I definitely haven't increased. So yeah, we'll see.
So all right, that was the state of play overall, John. What are your thoughts on it as a whole, as an Sony event?
Very middling. I thought it was fine. I didn't leave it angry. I didn't leave it hyped. I was happy to see a little more Resident Evil 4. I knew it was coming. I will say I was disappointed overall with the VR section. It's just such a hard sell to sell new IP in a VR setting. I don't know. It's also word of mouth. It's like, oh yeah, I played this and it's awesome, rather than like, oh, that looks cool. You just don't really know until you get in there. And so without seeing, major IP attached to things, it's hard to generate a ton of excitement. But, at the same time, Beat Saber was a new franchise. Super Hot was a new franchise. Like, there are things that can, Pistol Whip I really, really liked. There are things that can, prove themselves, but, I'd give it a C+ probably, I think.
Yeah, probably a C is probably best. It's a
Yeah.
And it's not like Sony. It's not like Sony's the only one doing this, but nobody's showing their hand for the rest of the year yet. So,
no.
I'm sure Sony has a lot to talk about.
Well, did you see that rumor from Jeff Grubb, Mr. Nick? There, did you see what he had to say today?
You asked if you sent it to me.
Listen, Nick, I'm trying to feed into the show. I know I sent it to you. All right, I'm trying to. God. All right, but yeah, Jeff Grubb, he tweeted out again today that Sony is gearing up for a pre-E3 showcase of major proportions where they're basically going to lay out their second wave of announcements for PS5. So he was right about this state of play. He is one of the most informed insiders out there. So I would definitely expect at some point in the next probably 3 months, we're going to get that big, meaty thing that we want. It's going to be awesome, hopefully.
Don't give him any kudos. Any hackneyed. We could have made that prediction. Like, they're going to have a showcase near, like, again, no one's fall's announced. I can tell you right now, Microsoft and Nintendo will also have showcases.
You're right, but
probably in May or June that detail the rest of the year for them.
Sure, but Jeff Grubb, he does have an existing reputation. He does already have an established, thing. So him going out there and saying it as specific as he has. I mean, I believe. I don't know.
He's also one that said last year that Sony was buying Square Enix.
He did. He might still be doing it. But listen, Nick, you want to live in a world of pessimism and salt, or do you want to live in a world where maybe we are going to eventually get a showcase? And that is, it's going to be soon. They got to have one sometime. It has to come at some point.
I'm just salt on the insiders and journalists right now, all right?
Yeah, I know. I know you are. That's all right. Show me where they touched you. Show me where they touched you.
All over.
All right, let's get into topic 2. We're running long here. I got a boy who's tapping at my door here. Okay. So, all right. So I wanted to talk real quick here. This is obviously a PlayStation podcast, but we like to cover large-scale video game news things. So I thought this one was kind of intriguing enough, at least to bring in a little bit.
It involves Sony.
Well, it does. Of course, anything involved in the video game space involves Sony.
No, but we'll get to it. You go ahead. Sorry.
Sure. So this week, Microsoft announced that they have entered a 10-year agreement with Nintendo to bring Xbox games to the Nintendo platform. And they specifically mentioned that they're going to bring Call of Duty to Nintendo for the next 10 years as well. And I saw this, and I immediately had a lot of questions. What did you think, Nick, when you saw this statement that came out this week?
That it's a bunch of horse shit.
Oh, really?
It's just a bunch of PR. Again, Microsoft is trying to buy Activision Blizzard. And a lot of the pushback is that they're going to take away a lot of their games from other platforms, specifically PlayStation, specifically Nintendo. So this is a giant PR move to do that, to say, hey, we're committed to this now, to have, our games come to Nintendo the same day as Xbox. But they only mention one franchise, that's Call of Duty, which they don't currently own.
Right.
It doesn't say how they're going to do this, because the Switch can't run Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. You can't that's not going to be a good port. So
the Switch probably can't run Call of Duty Black Ops 3.
Is it going to be some kind of cloud gaming? Yeah, the Switch is a 7-year-old platform. It's nothing against the Switch. It's just an old platform. If there's a Switch 2, that might change things. But it's intentionally vague. What is the deal? What are the specifics here? What games will be coming? Will Starfield be on Nintendo? Will your other franchises be on Nintendo? And what will they look like? How will they play? Will Game Pass be on Nintendo? There's just I just don't. It's just I just think it's like a good faith argument, and I just don't. I just don't. I just think it's just, be like, oh, look at us, FTC. We just signed a deal with Nintendo. Like,
we're the good guys.
Yeah, we're the good guys. So I would like to know more. It doesn't make sense because Nintendo's not going to put their games on Xbox. That's why you buy a Nintendo platform. And same here. Like, Xbox can't sell all their IPs and put them on Switch, because then who's buying an Xbox? Especially if Switch has a Switch 2, say, is, just for example, is comparable to like an Xbox Series X or S. Why you'd buy a Nintendo Switch, because you'd have access to both libraries of games. You wouldn't, So I don't know what this means. This means nothing. Other than PR.
There's a ton to read into it, but I had to bring it just because these like you said, Nick, you nailed it. These type of quotes really get under my skin, because if you just analyze what they're saying for 30 seconds, you can see through so much of the horseshit. And this is entirely a move to just try and persuade public opinion and get people to be like, oh, see, they really are going to be what they say they're going to do. They're not trying to pull the wool over any of our eyes. And I'm just going to read a quick little blurb from Brad Smith, who's I believe he's Microsoft President Brad Smith. Yep. Where he was interviewed on CNN about this, and he said, quote, "A lot has changed today because Microsoft has announced 2 agreements that together will bring Call of Duty, the game that everyone has been talking about, to 150 million more people on Nintendo devices and NVIDIA's cloud streaming services." He went on to say that these 2 deals address the concern that Call of Duty will be less available than it is today and will be more available instead due to these 2 binding agreements. One last quote here. "We're really down to one principal company that is objecting to this deal, and that's Sony, and we've made it clear that we're happy to enter a 10-year agreement with Sony, and we're prepared to end regulatory obligations as well, whether it's London or Brussels or Washington. So in addition to a contract, we'd have a duty under the law." And so it's just, it's entirely like, we'll do this. See, it's all Sony. Sony won't play ball with us. And it's just, again, if you evaluate the things that are at stake here, it just doesn't make any fucking sense. Why would you ever buy an Xbox ever again? If it just seems like they keep kneecapping themselves left and right. They really must just be really trying to get out of the hardware space and just get whatever they can do. If they can get Call of Duty on Game Pass, they are fucking done. They think they won. They can get out of the console space. They can put Game Pass streaming on TVs. They can put Game Pass streaming on Nintendo. They'll probably try to put it on Sony's PlayStation next, and then that's going to be their revenue stream. But I just found it kind of comical that they're out here, doing interviews with CNN saying like, yeah, we've agreed to give Call of Duty to Nintendo. It's like, motherfucker, you don't even own it yet. Can we just let the people who are informed about this, the people who have the power to just do the thing, and we'll move on. But I really wish I had a crystal ball, Nick, because I don't know if this deal is going to close or not. But it is one of the biggest news, I think, stories in the video game industry in a long time, and just had to at least bring that into the show today.
Yeah, it's going to be the talk for all of this year, whether, even if, nothing happens, there'll be these statements all year of how committed they are to bring it to other platforms. So,
we told Sony we'd do 10 years with it. We told them we'd do it. Yeah. Did you by any chance see? I think Brad Smith also tweeted this out. Like he tweeted out the breakdown of. Oh, I think I also sent this to you, so you can blow me up if you want over that.
Yeah, you did.
The breakdown of percentages of like platforms. It's a bigger gap
excluding
than I thought.
North America.
Excluding North America. Yeah, that is true. It's probably like 60-40, but I think it was like 70-30 over the world, like 80-20 in England, and then like 96-4 in Japan, which is like that is a pretty. I mean, everybody knew Japan. Everybody knew Japan was like that, but 70-30 is pretty big.
I don't want to linger on this topic too much, but I as I've said before, that number is because Microsoft, under poor leadership, made a bunch of dumb decisions in the lead up to the Xbox One and blew their market share out of the water. So if they had not done that, if they have not had the last, pretty much 10 years of, no first-party games to speak of, just a pittance of good ones, they would still be in this thing. But that they fucked it up, and I do believe they're righting the ship somewhat. We'll see how this year pans out beyond Hi-Fi Rush, but it's whatever. You can say those percentages all the time. That's not the reason you should be, just because you sucked at your gaming division sucked for so long, entitles you to buy an entire publisher.
Yeah.
No, I don't buy that argument.
I really wonder if this deal gets nixed. What is Microsoft's play? It'll be interesting to watch for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's all I got with that. Am I up next with my game? I can't remember the list.
We're going to be talking about Atomic Heart.
Atomic Heart, yes, Atomic Heart. All right, review roundup time. So, Nick, I got to ask you first here. Did you include this because you wanted to give a little jab of see, you said you were excited about this game. Did you do that to me, or did you just Okay, all right.
I think it's a interesting release as we've talked about. It looked interesting and we didn't know where it was going to land, and so I thought it'd be interesting because the critics are in the same boat. I think they're kind of you got the 8s from IGNs, and then you got 5s from Game Central. So reviewers are mixed on this, and we've had a friend of the show tell us that he's in love with the game. So I just wanted to talk about it. It's the big release of the week that we haven't talked about.
I just had to know if I had to fuck with your with your desk when I came back to work. So all right, we're good. So Atomic Heart came out this past week from Mundfish Studios, controversial Mundfish Studios, as I'm sure we'll talk about here in a little bit. But they are based out of Russia. I don't know if you've kind of heard, Nick, but there's something going on with that Russia right now. So, but we got this game slotting in at a 74 on OpenCritic. And if you've kind of paid attention to this game, since it's been shown, the most apt comparison that people like to bring in is probably BioShock. It's got a very kind of futuristic / retro style to it, where it takes place in 1950s Russia in this alternate universe, with lots of crazy robots and things. The art style and some of the enemy designs are absolutely phenomenal looking. So, we just kind of didn't know where this game was going to land when it, is the gameplay fun? Is it engaging? Is there a good story? Are the characters endearing? And we got a lot of answers to those questions. So the 74, I think, can tell you a lot, but what I've been kind of seeing from this game, to tell the audience to whether you guys would want to pick this game up or not, is that it has a lot of good things going for it. The gunplay is serviceable. The world is cool. The music slaps. It's done by Mick Gordon, who did the music to Doom Eternal, Doom. That heavy metal riff stuff that is just awesome when it's in the background of you shooting robots and things. But it's buggy. It's glitchy. It has some of the worst dialogue that people have ever seen, alongside Forspoken, apparently. I think a lot of people were thinking that once Forspoken came out this year, that it would be a runaway leader for worst dialogue of the year, and a lot of people are saying this is right there with it. Your
main character has a glove that he talks to in this, similar to Frey and her cuff.
Yep.
Forspoken.
Yes. So it's not just the comparison of bad dialogue. It's the way that the protagonist interacts with this inanimate object that's also speaking to it. The way they interact with each other, where they're kind of just don't like each other. They kind of annoy each other and things like that. So, that's not great to hear. And even if the gameplay's fun, that's good and all, but if you got this annoying ass bro that's just kind of swearing at you all the time, it might take you out of it a little bit. But just to kind of give you a couple quick examples here, here's a couple of lines from the main protagonist, Major Sergei Nechayev. Shit on a shingle. Crispy fucking, where's the shit ass way out of here? What in the sweaty hell is going on here? Fuck me sideways. So you can kind of tell what the style of writing is there. And then there's also a upgrade machine that apparently just wants to get in your pants all the time. She says, oh, what a stud. I can't get enough of your jocks. Let me tie you to the bed, baby. How titillating, rebellious, dominant men really turn me on. A quick romp with your axe is just a taste of what's to come, you handsome beast. So It's it has a flavor to it, but I think, needless to say, if you were just looking for a fun first-person shooter with cool enemy design, some interesting ideas, there is things to be had, some fun to be had here, but it is going to have a lot of caveats and might be something that you would want to wait for a sale for, make sure it gets patched, make sure any of the bugginess gets out of it. But it's a very, I think, very, like you said, Nick, it's IGN gives it an 8, but Metro Game Central gives it a 5. GameSpot gives it a 6, but a different outlet gives it a 9. So there's going to be different tastes here to whether you enjoy it or not. But just try to watch yourself a little YouTube video. I think that'll tell you all you need to know.
Sure.
Besides listening to your local PlayStation pals.
Yeah, this is a game that if it comes to PlayStation Plus Extra, I would probably give it a go. Just a single playthrough to check it out. So
I would guarantee it will. I think this game will have pretty short legs. I think it probably did a decent chunk right off the bat, but between the middling reception, I'm sure you've seen, Nick, but I've seen articles calling for the cancellation of this game because there's some tie to Russian state company that funds the war, and so there's all that stuff that's getting in there. Well, I don't want to get into the anything regarding that, just to make sure everybody knows I'm not pro-Russian, so I just want to get that out there. But not to bring that into it, but I don't see this game lasting a very long time. I don't think it's going to continue to sell, so I would not be shocked to see them want an extra chunk of money from Sony or somebody, as long as Sony or Microsoft is willing to take any type of PR backlash on that, because there are going to be people upset.
Well, it is a day and date on Game Pass, so it's already there.
That is true. Yeah, bunch of commies. Yeah, that's true. Good point.
So yeah. All right. Let's move on to a reoccurring segment, Hogwarts Legacy. It's the only game I've been playing, so it's going to come up, and I had some more interesting points to say about it. But another player has entered the game before I could even finish it to give it to him. John, what happened?
Marriage happened, Nick. Being with the woman you love, you want to make the woman you love happy. And
happy wife, happy life.
Yeah, my wife's her favorite movie in the world, she's told this to me many times, is the first Harry Potter movie, which is just the wrong one. First of all, it's not the best one, but I think she just loves the world. She loves magical things and whatnot. And so we were alone. We had a rare day where my son was at the in-laws' house, and our babies were asleep, and I was like, what do you want to do tonight? And she's like, I've heard from people that this Hogwarts game is pretty good. And I was like, yeah, literally every single person at work and everybody online is playing it. She's like, well, can we get it? I'm like, yeah, we can get it. Like, I'm not gonna, I will never, if my wife wants to pay for a video game, that's just, yeah, okay. I don't have to worry about you getting mad at me for spending money on a video game. We can get it together, and I want to play this game, but I was expecting to play it later. And so, Kylie is my wife. Kylie, she is a Slytherin. She's probably about 2 to 3 hours into the game. Pretty low key. But last night, a strange thing did happen where we were downstairs playing it. Levi wanted to see a little bit of it, and I was like, all right, it's time for bed. She's like, hey, do you mind if I stay down here and play? And so I went upstairs with my son. She played by herself for probably a good hour, which was kind of cool because she's literally never done that before in her life. So, if this allows her to get more comfortable with rotating the second joystick to feel, get the feeling of the camera, to just kind of understand how video game logic works. If something's highlighted, it probably means you can interact with it. That's kind of the level we're talking about here. So if this is a gateway into, understanding that more and finding more things, cool.
Yeah. We had this note to ourselves that we have not seen as many people that we know in our own personal lives all playing this game at the same time. It's wild to open my friends list and just see how many people are playing it, how many people come up to us and say this is the game they're currently playing. Just that Harry Potter brand, man. I
did not expect it to that level. I mean, did you see some of I think the things were coming out today or yesterday about how much money it's made and how successful it truly is?
Yeah, it's doing incredible, and it's only on current gen platforms right now.
I think 12 million, dude. 12 million in a week. Elden Ring just passed 20. Like, that's the level we're talking about. Like, I didn't expect it to do that. I think they said $850 million in profit already. It's on track to make more money than any single Harry Potter movie has made. It's going to be the most profitable Harry Potter thing, which is just incredible and pretty cool. Shows the power of video games for sure. No, it's already being made. They're working on it right now.
Before I get into what I wanted to talk about with the game, did you have anything that you noticed, or in the hours that you're kind of being the co-passenger on this game?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen a ton of it. I thought the beginning was a little slow for me, but it wasn't bad by any means. It was just like, I want to see the Hogwarts. I want to see the castle. Let me get to the castle. Right. I want to see the castle. And you kind of start off and you kind of, as you would expect, you need a little backstory. You need to figure out who the bad guys are, what's going on. You're just entering this world. You're not going to be immediately just in the castle. So, but it was, once you get there, man, it was similar to the feeling I had when I played the South Park Stick of Truth for the first time, where I'm like, I get to interact with this town that I've only seen in a very passive way my entire life, which is cool. But I have not seen enough of it to really generate opinions otherwise. I will say combat seems, at least of this right now, okay. I think, it's cool that you can use like Leviosa and things to lift people up and mess with combat that way. But no, I don't have many opinions besides that. The conversations do seem a little stiff as well, I will say. But it's that old school game design of
it's like back Bethesda. Back and forth. It's pretty lifeless.
But I will imagine the biggest benefit, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, or the biggest draw of this game is just simply once you get to the open world nature of it and you can just kind of go and be free. I imagine that's when the game really becomes fun. No? All right, cool. You tell me, bud.
Yeah. We can go right into, I'm running into a few. I'm about 30 hours in now, so I have a few negatives, and we'll get right into that one. Is the open world fatigue, and this is what Assassin's Creed does. The map in this is just way too large. It's filled with too much stuff. An insane amount of stuff. It's just I don't know who would have fun cleaning up this map. This platinum's just not happening. I'll admit that right now. It's just when you got it, like as you listed when we were just barely previewing the game, all the collectibles, and that seemed insurmountable. Being in the game is just like I'm getting very tired of doing everything. So that's the first thing, and that happens once you get the broom. Like, the world opens up, and it's just like, oh wow, there's something everywhere. But that outside of the Hogwarts and Hogsmeade, none of it is that interesting. It's the same little small little towns that have the same little fetch quest that lead to camps or just, different enemies, and you're gonna fight the same enemies a lot: spiders, trolls, goblins, wolves, whatever it may be, poachers. And it just wears on you. And then the next negative thing is the loot system. And this is probably negative to me, not to a lot of people, but you get a lot of loot in this game, and you do have a very limited inventory. And I'm gonna say 90% of the loot you get in this game is not even gonna upgrade your gear. You're not, it's just trash. Yep. It just exists to fill a slot in your inventory. Maybe because you can change any piece of gear in this to another piece of gear, so you might get a new cosmetic option if it's a unique piece of gear you haven't had before. But I'm junking 98% of the things I pick up.
It sounds like Borderlands.
Yep. And so I just get sick of that mechanic of, I'm in Hogsmeade, better go to the store and sell all my gear while I'm here. The last thing I do is want to open a chest and go, your gear slots are full. You can't pick it up. So it's just, I'm more of loot that matters, not the quantity of loot. Because again, it just sits there to be picked up and be junked. And I wish there was just an option to just automatically junk it. Like just turn it to gold the second I pick it up.
That type of stuff's good for high school John, not good for 35-year-old John.
Yeah.
Not good.
And then my last criticism of the game is, coming off of Marvel's Midnight Suns, where you had this mechanic where You would hang out with the other people in the Midnight Suns. You go out and do stuff with them. You would have conversations with them. You would learn more about them and have, they didn't have relationships in that game, but you would like increase a friendship level. There is none of that in this, and it kind of suffers for it. That you can't go and hang out with all these students you're meeting. They all kind of just serve as a quest provider, and then 3 of them lead to a much larger quest. Like they have a bigger quest, but even your interaction with them is very limited. Like you don't have the option for a romance, or you don't have an option to like specifically choose this friend over another one and have some kind of bond, or even just to bring them on normal missions. Any mission that's outside of them, they're not there. So it's just something that's missing that I think would really enhance this game. And if you were to ask me like a wish list of things for the sequel, which is eventually coming, that would be on there. It's just a way to kind of feel more connected to the students there and choose how you want to interact with them.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the last thing I wanted to talk about the game is this game is heavily involved with PlayStation. I don't know, John, if you ever saw the PlayStation exclusive stuff.
I mean, I know when you buy it, it's it gives you you get this extra mission, and then you get some extra cosmetics, I think, some wardrobe stuff, but I didn't really see anything else on top of that.
Yeah, so you get an exclusive quest, which is called Haunted Hogsmeade, and
is it the best mission in the game?
It is very good. You've picked it out of my mouth. But as we talked about before, like these really don't do anything. Like I don't think like if you had access to all platforms, the exclusive quest is gonna be make or break it, right? As to where you're gonna play this game.
Yeah.
But yeah, that being said, the quest is very good. It is one of my favorite quests in the game. It's got a very horror theme that is kind of absent in other quests in the game. And it's very meaty. It's very long, and it ends with you getting your own shop in the game. And then the shop, when you sell items to it, you actually get a monetary benefit. So if you go to a regular shop and sell your gear, you might sell it for 90. But if you sell your gear here, it's going to be 100. And that's not really going to change the game very much for you. But it is kind of. Not gonna lie. This is kind of a bummer that other platforms can't see this part of the game.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was very good, including I want to mention a very cool boss fight at the end of it too, which did a unique twist on it that I had fun with.
Sony was very, very, very smart to get in bed with this game. I think they proved that, and it's only gonna. I think it's only going to widen the gap of consoles sold. Anybody who's looking for a PS5, obviously they're interested in this game because, like Nick and I said, everybody under the sun is playing this right now. But yeah, if word gets out that or if people share that same sentiment that you had, it's a no-brainer at that point.
Yeah. It's just like I hate that they did this, and then at the same time I'm like, wow, that was really good.
Yeah, thank God. Thank God I play on PlayStation.
Yeah.
All right, I gotta ask, how after 30 hours in the game, how do you feel about the combat overall? Because I'm a combat guy. I thrive on gameplay, and does it get good to the point where you're mixing in spells, you're doing cool things, or are you still just R2, 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 spell, R2, 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 spell, R2, or is it that?
You do get into like a rhythm of kind of like juggling and whatnot, but you can only assign 4 spells at a time, and that really kind of limits you because it's clunky to switch spells mid-combat. So, like, if you want to keep the combat flowing, like a Batman Arkham game or Spider-Man, you don't want to switch that wheel. So, while I've been plugging different spells in there, especially depending on enemies, I wish there was a better way that I could use more of my arsenal, depending on in just a normal combat encounter. Like, if I'm walking up on the undead guys, I know to switch to my one that uses a lot of fire, and that's fine. But if I want to switch mid-combat because, either a new enemy showed up or there's a mix of enemies and I want to mix in some ice spells or some of my dark art spells, you can. It's just clunky. It takes you out of the combat to change that wheel. So,
yeah. That's gonna be the shit that gets Kylie for sure. That's gonna be tough for her.
But when you settle on one that's just kind of pretty good universally, it is fun. Like when you find one that you like and you're familiar with how to like work it to where you're either juggling or managing the battlefield better. It can be fun, but I think it's very limiting again to leaving it to the 4 face buttons.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to talk to a developer because like I feel like that specific complaint is one that happens a lot, and it's obvious to see through. Like I'm sure at Avalanche they had the discussion of like, do we want to use a system where you press R2 and then you can like pick your spell based on any of the face buttons, or do we want to do a system where you press R2, it freezes time, you go into a radial menu and you select your spells that way? It's like, I'm sure there's a reason for doing it this way, but it's if it seems like if that's kind of the issue, like a radial mechanic might be a better system.
Well,
but
it's like again, as we talked about the reviews, it just seems like a game that was trying to do much, and we haven't really talked about it. But L1 is like items, and you can get like venomous plants and all kinds of things that go in the L1 spot, like the mandrake that's from the movies that screams. They could have probably gotten rid of that entirely, because it has in that are like potions that do the same thing that a spell could do. And then if L1 was just brings up a different version of that spell wheel instantly, that would be one way to levy that situation entirely. So I think that's something that they kind of missed on, because they just were trying to bring in, herbology and our botanists were a big deal in the books and the story, that we had to bring it here. And
my boy Neville. Come on.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, I still enjoy the combat sometimes. Sometimes you get in a good rhythm of, especially now that I know kind of all the enemy types, you do sometimes get in a good rhythm, and it does feel good to be in a combat encounter and handle it perfectly. Good.
Well, that's good. That's enough for me.
All right. So, I probably won't bring the game back up until I beat it. So.
But I'm sure it'll just be time for me to bring it up on my playthrough.
So, John, I'm excited to hear about Norco, because I pretty much know little to nothing about this, other than it is well reviewed.
Well, you're going to learn about not much more, because I am still like very early on into it. But my impressions are very positive, so I wanted to bring it. And it's a pretty short game as well, so I think we'll talk about it a little bit here. We're already kind of running a little long, so we don't have to jump into it much more. And if I get through it this week, maybe we'll bring it back. But yeah, man, like I said, very positive impressions so far. So Norco is a game that came out last year. It was kind of a sleeper hit. It's one of those games, I think, Nick, where we just kind of went on Metacritic one day or OpenCritic one day and was like, what is this? Why do you have a 90? What are you? This is a game developed by Geography of Robots, and it's sitting at a 90 on OpenCritic with a 96% critic recommendation. Which I'm a sucker for, as we all know. It was on sale for $8. I just bought a pizza an hour ago for $14. So, like, whatever. And it had a personal recommendation from friend of the show, Will. So, I think that was enough for me to at least give it a chance. And so far, yeah, very, very happy that I am. This is, much like Disco Elysium, it is heavily narrative-based. It's heavy reading. It's basically an interactive story. But if you're in the mood for something like that, sometimes that's exactly what I want. And after getting through Dead Space, which, stay tuned for our episode on that. Nick and I will do a nice big spoiler cast on that. But the end of that game just knocked me out, man. I was so just ready to not shoot things. So I decided, obviously I'm going to get back into Elden Ring, but I wanted to maybe squeeze this in here. But to just kind of give a little bit of a rundown of the story, Norco is a town based in Louisiana, and it does not seem like a good place. This is kind of where petroleum gets refined. There's these, horrible towers all over the place that give it this very industrial, dirty feel. If you're kind of familiar with the Deep South at all, especially places like Louisiana, which I have been to, there's very few places that I've been to that made me feel as uncomfortable, I think, as Louisiana could. Not all the time, but could. And if you've seen, something like True Detective Season 1, that's very, very similar vibes. But you take the role of a character named Kay, who has tried to leave Norco behind, but the death of her mother drags her back, and she has to deal with her brother as well, who is definitely quite the character. And so the game does a very nice job, I think, in the beginning of just kind of getting you right into it. but giving you enough of a backstory to immediately hook you. So, the story starts and you see this gorgeous pixel art with this amazing soundtrack in the background. It's got a very kind of techno, rugged vibe to it. You'll know when you start hearing to it. Kind of cyberpunky, but dirtier, I guess. And and it's like I said, there's this gorgeous like pixel art going. There's like this weird face in the sky. That's like I don't know how to describe it, but immediately jumping into it, I was hooked. And she's talking. They're telling me the story about how I left Norco. I wanted to go find myself. I started patrolling the suburbanites of California and through the Midwest and the Rocky Mountains, and like the writing is phenomenal. It's very noir, but I like the way that kind of the gameplay also pushes you through, where again it's narrative. You're not moving a character, you're not really doing anything, but the amount of the dialogue choices that you do seem like they matter, even if they might not matter later in the story. And kind of what I mean by that is like, she'll be mentioning her brother and be like, yep, and then I had to go back and see my brother. He is ... and then it gives you an option like he is my best friend or he is a lot. And it like kind of really shifts how the story is going to progress, I feel, which I don't know if that's going to come true by the end of the game, but it at least gives that sense that you are kind of developing your own Kay and how she feels about the characters around her. But again, like the vibe of this is so good, and
Is
so when
this
you kind of
fully
start,
voiced?
no, I don't think there's any voice, honestly.
Okay.
Now that I'm thinking about it, it's all text.
Okay.
But so you start in the game, and if you've played these old school point and click games, it's going to operate the same, where you're effectively kind of looking at a static screen, and there's going to be a myriad of things to click on the screen. And they give you different texture to what's going on, different story beats, things like that. But one thing that I do appreciate about this that I never liked about those kind of games is I was always scared that I was going to move on and not see something that I should have clicked on. And all you have to do in this one is literally hold triangle, and it shows you every single thing that's clickable on the screen. And there's ways to just cycle through to the next thing. So it can be a very passive thing if you're just looking for a story, which I am at the moment. But so far, I think it's doing a great job. Again, with that world building, with that vibe setting, the characters I've come across, it's not a ton of them yet, but they are really kind of cool. Like, so I went to my house and I went in the backyard, and there's just this weird, it looks like a human, but a humanoid thing, and you go talk to it, and it's a robot. Basically, it's a robot that your mother, who just died, brought home to kind of be your companion or your helper around. And her name's Million. I don't know why, but she's got a really cool design to her, and she's like kind of there fixing the garage and knows you personally, and obviously has a lot of layers to her. So it's just like kind of one of those where you're going on this adventure, and you're going to come across a lot of wacky, weird, kind of normal, kind of weird, but again, when you put it under this Louisiana dirty oil refinery light, it kind of makes itself just stand out a little bit more. And I think it's going to be a pretty neat little experience. I think it only clocks at 6 or 7 hours, so something that you could beat in a weekend or so. But I'm pretty high on it now. Like I said, I'm probably only an hour and a half into it. I kind of plan on sitting down and trying to knock it out before I, move on to anything else, obviously, besides Elden Ring. I will do that, Nick. I promise you I will do that. But yeah, it's pretty dang cool. I like these indie style things, and if you are in for just a quick story, and it seems like it's gonna get pretty fucked up. I think that's a lot of how these kind of stories, obviously lean towards. You're not in Louisiana for fun reasons. You're in Louisiana for fucked up reasons. Sorry to any Louisiana people out there. New Orleans is wonderful. I fucking love New Orleans. It's a great place. But the rural areas of Louisiana are a bit shady sometimes. And,
adding to the haters, the show.
Yep, I know. Sorry if we'll have to, our large Louisiana listeners out there. But yeah, definitely worth the $8 so far, and I'm excited to check out some more, for sure.
Yeah, you're selling me on it. I think I might have to check this out too.
Cool. Yeah, that'd be cool. I don't know if it's still on sale. I think it was part of like that PlayStation double discount sale that they launched.
It's normally $15. I'm not.
No, for sure. But like also if it is still on sale, I'm checking right now. Of course, I've bought in it, so I don't know. It just says play.
It's usually weekly, so it probably is not on sale anymore. But I'll keep it on
either way, it's pretty cool stuff, man. Pretty cool stuff.
Cool. All right. Yeah. I hate to ask this question. Is it? What's the platinum like?
It's I don't know. Like, that's interesting because like there's no Power Picks trophy guide.
Oh, okay.
There's really no big one. The only one I've seen is a 3-hour YouTube video. I was like, I'm not watching a 3-hour YouTube video for a 6-hour game. So what I planned on doing is I said, you can hold triangle to see everything you can possibly click on. So unless if there's trophies that rely on answering questions in specific ways, I should get a ton of it organically. And if the story is as good as I'm hoping it is, and if it's as short as it is, maybe down the road I go back and I try to get the platinum because I want to see everything the game has to offer. But I'm going to kind of rely on it being good enough narratively to want me to come back for a second playthrough at some point to worry about that.
All right. Okay. Well, I guess we'll hear because Platinum Watch has been quiet lately on all fronts. So.
Yeah. It's been a rough month.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on into our final topic, talking about HBO's The Last of Us. We are on episode 6 now, titled Kin. Boy, we're really trucking.
Yeah, and they are just keeping that bar nice and high. I love it.
All right, so let's get into the episode. It kind of recants or relives what happened last week with Henry and Sam, as that is going to take its toll on our characters going forward. But we do get a time jump of 3 months. Mm-hmm. Our pair is in Wyoming, but we don't see them. We see a man walking into his house carrying some rabbits to come in and find his wife sitting there, and that she is being held at gunpoint by Joel. And what we get here is just a hilarious, funny interaction as Joel is trying to figure out where in the hell they are because Google Maps doesn't exist. You ain't gonna waze your ways to Jackson, so he has to rely on the locals to figure it out.
Yeah, I love it in shows that are as serious and dark as this. When you get a little bit of a comedic levity. So yeah, this was a very endearing scene. I thought I loved the wife. I love both of them honestly, but I thought the wife just had like that natural comedic timing or just demeanor about her, where she's like, well, why didn't you shoot him? Or the husband asks, why didn't you shoot him? Oh, the gun's over there. I didn't want to get up and get it. It's like, so you gave him soup? Yeah, they were hungry. So it's just like, these people who are obviously not adapted to this world, but have been living by themselves for so long that it's just like, they're just being themselves. And I very much enjoyed their limited time on screen for sure. Mm. What was the other line? That was something about Firefly people.
Oh,
something
yeah.
like, or Ellie asked, like, did you see the fireflies? And it's just something about, like, there's firefly people? And, just like, no. Obviously showing, like, if that was an earnest question, like, yeah, you have no idea what the fuck's going on out there, do you?
No,
you're just living life by yourself.
No, the only thing they seem to know is that there is a river of death, and to cross it is bad, so you do not want to go west. They see bodies of humans and infected over there, so they advise them not to go. But Joel wants to rescue his brother, so they gotta keep moving on.
Gotta do it.
I have the memory of the goldfish, as we've talked about. Was there any scenes between now and between when they crossed the river that you wanted to touch upon?
No, I don't think so. I think the next big part would be when the horses kind of surround them.
Yeah, we do get a view of the dam, which was a location in the video game that you played through, but they kind of just mosey on by. I think.
Yeah, were you a little taken back by that? Like, or were you when you saw it, were you like, oh, here we go, and then like, oh, okay, like I guess we're changing that, or did you kind of just?
No, that seemed right. Like especially with where we're ending up.
In hindsight, yeah, it's definitely the right call.
I think Joel has a funny line here. He's like, "Don't ask me how it works. How does it provide power?"
I'm just a dumb country boy.
But they do get across the river, and just as they realize it's like, oh, this might be the river of death, they are surrounded by men and women on horsebacks who all point their guns at them. We didn't talk about the panic attack. Joel had a panic attack while leaving the couple's house. That gave him directions. And in that scene, Ellie really seemed concerned because, if Joel dies, she's fucked. So I believe she was really adamant. Are you dying on me?
Right. Yeah, it's interesting because there is obviously that selfishness that Ellie is showing because she is like, you are my lifeline. But, as we know, 3 months has passed. They've developed a bond, right? Like they have that almost father-daughter relationship, and this is the episode I would argue this is the episode that relationship fully forms, but this is kind of like one of those moments like, dude, no, like we care about each other now, you can't do this, also I'm fucked, also you can't do this, if you care about me you can't do this, so it's interesting to see all that kind of start to bubble up. Yeah,
this was definitely a much slower episode overall, and I think that the benefit of that was that Joel and Ellie really and Pedro and Bella really got to show their chops off and really solidify that relationship with the more screen time. But as they're surrounded by these people on horseback, Joel has yet another panic attack. He just doesn't know what to do, and I don't really know what he could do, especially because there's a revelation that they have a dog that can smell if you're infected or not. And as we saw with the scanner and Ellie before, this dog is, once they realize she's infected, they're going to kill her. They're going to kill her right on the spot. So you have kind of Joel just sitting here, just like having another one of these panic attacks. And, the screen zooms up close, and the next thing we hear is just Ellie laughing because the dog's licking her face. It is unable to detect that she is infected, and everything's good.
Yeah. Well, but at this moment, right? Then they ask, Joel mentions, "Hey, I'm looking for my brother." Well, who's your brother? Tommy. Oh, no, it's not that, right? It's something like, "I'm looking for my brother. My name's Joel," and we find out that one of the horseback riders is somebody who seemingly recognizes who Joel is, right? And so they get back into town at this point, and this is really cool, right? Because in the game, when you come across Tommy, like we mentioned, you're in the hydroelectric dam. That's kind of where your interaction with Tommy and, as we are about to find out, his wife Maria, that's where most of your interactions kind of happen with them. They talk about Jackson as a city. I believe you see it from a distance, but you never get to go in there. And so it's kind of in this moment that's really, really cool. And like you said, Nick, this was the right choice to not focus on the hydroelectric dam because we get to see inside Jackson. And this town, I would live here. I don't know about you, man. Like I wouldn't have no problems being in this town. It looks safe as hell. Big fucking wooden gates. They have power, obviously, thanks to the hydroelectric dam. They have a sewage system, vegetables, livestock. They have movie nights, for God's sakes. Like, it's not so bad. Like, I think Ellie even has that line that says, "Holy shit, this place fucking works." Yeah.
It's a huge location in the second game. So that it's finally great to see it on screen and just see. Again, a society works. There's another way, than what we've seen up to this point between Fedra and, how Joel just doesn't trust anybody. Like, here's a community of people that trust each other and have kind of rebuilt society with what little they have,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it was a great moment. Obviously, riding into town, and moment Joel sees Tommy. Whether they had bad blood in the past, all feelings aside, this is brother instinct kicks in and yells his name, and you could feel it when he yells Tommy, and they run towards each other, embrace. I think Tommy was like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" "Well, I was looking, or I came to save you," which they obviously kind of laugh off because I don't think there's a safer person in the United States than anybody living in Jackson at this moment. So, really, really cool to see Joel kind of accomplish at least this task, what he set out to do.
Right. Yeah, it's a weight off his back to know that his brother's okay, because as we're going to learn throughout the episode, is kind of like Joel was the protector of Tommy and told Tommy what to do in order to protect them both. But we'll definitely get into that. Yeah, and so they feed Joel and Ellie, and Ellie has is her typical smart mouth self.
Yeah.
Which is
The
interesting
fuck
to
you
be
looking
around
at?
strangers. Yeah. Oh yeah. She says, "Who the fuck you looking at?" And she says it to a person that looks pretty closely resembles a big character from the second game, Dina. And I don't remember if they tell this story. I think they do, of how when Dina first saw Ellie, and I think it is similar to this.
I think you're
But
right. Now that you
I've
say
been
that,
so
yeah.
removed from. I haven't played Last of Us 2. I only played it once 2 years ago, so 3 years ago now. That I don't remember, but she looks too closely like her to.
Yeah,
to
and
not
that's
be-
definitely the type of thing that a creator loves to be like, see, I laid the breadcrumbs. There's the breadcrumbs.
Yeah,
they
and
love to do
in
that
the,
kind of shit.
companion podcast, they teased as much. They're like, they didn't confirm or deny, but they said as much as, is it Dina? Is it not
Yep.
Dina? I don't know.
Which means it is.
And then in the scene, as Joel wants to talk to Tommy alone, but this is where Tommy reveals that Maria, the person that brought them here, is family now because they are married. This is
Yep.
Tommy's wife, which Joel doesn't respond very well to.
No, I mean, this is where, when they initially saw each other, all bad blood and feelings for one another, evaporated because you're just so happy to see your brother. This is where those feelings and things started to kind of show themselves. And I think, besides the obvious horrible past that Joel and Tommy both had together, killing innocent people and the horrible things they had to do to survive, I think there's also a sense of Joel here that he's a little bit jealous. He's a little bit selfish.
For sure.
Where he's just like, fuck, man, like, you have everything I want right now. God damn it. I'm on this mission that I didn't want to do at the beginning. Obviously, I care about this girl, but, like, you got to help me finish this, man. Like, we're brothers. Like, let's go do this. You can help me. You're younger. You're stronger. And come on, let's pack up your shit and let's go do this thing. And he just cannot accept that Joel is no longer Tommy's most important person in the world. Maria is. And not only is Maria, but we find out that Maria is pregnant, which, again, Joel, that's everything Joel has ever wanted. Joel has only ever wanted to raise his daughter. He only ever wanted to see her grow up to have grandchildren. And so Tommy is obviously going to get that chance. And I don't think Joel, he just can't accept that. Right? I think there's that. What does he say right after Tommy tells him that Maria's pregnant or something?
Like, let me know how that works out for you.
Yeah, I guess we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
And it's like, Tommy calls him on it. Right? Are you fucking? That's all you fucking got?
Right.
And because Joel
there's
doesn't know how to react to that.
There's a scene earlier where Ellie asks Joel what he wants to be if he could just relax, right? And
Yep.
he says sheep herder, which I do not believe Joel wants to be a sheep herder, because I actually believe he would be a dad. That is his answer. If his Sarah was still around, that would be his answer. He's like, I'm just a dad.
Right. Well, and he can't say that to Ellie because Ellie which I had a hard time. I was like, oh yeah, fuck, she still doesn't know about Sarah, because I believe it's at some point where Ellie's off with Maria that Maria mentions something about Joel's daughter, and she's kind of like, what?
Well, because she's in the house and there's two names over the fireplace, almost like gravestones that kind of list the years that two people, I believe Kevin and Sarah, are. And when Maria finally shows up, she asks him about it, thinking that those are her kids. And she says, well, Kevin's mine, Sarah is Joel's.
Yep.
And kind of has this realization like, oh, fuck, I'm the one that told Ellie about this. Ellie had no idea, which is going to come up.
Yeah. Yeah, so, do you know where this... I'm Goldfish. Bail me out, Nick.
Ellie's in a movie night. Joel's in a work area being a handyman, trying to fix his shoe. Tommy comes in there to talk to him again to try and kind of fix where things left off. And this is where Joel comes 1,000% clean with Tommy. He comes clean about what happened to Tess. He comes clean about what happened, why he's bringing Ellie, that she's immune. and he kind of breaks down as a man in front of his brother, and and finally admits that his weakness, that he's losing it, like that he almost got them killed in Kansas City, that he almost got them killed when Maria and the other people on horseback came. He just kind of finally, in the Henry and Sam thing, it loses it. Finally, Joel gets that moment of weakness.
Yeah.
And kind of just forces Tommy that he's got to do it. Like he can't do it anymore.
Well, and it is incredible to me in this story, because I think it's happened a little bit. It's happened with Tess, and it's happened here, where it's just like, it really doesn't matter how strong your resolve is, whether it's personal, whether it's more macro than that, and you're trying to save a large group of people. It's like the line of "she's immune" just stops everybody. It stops everybody. If you say she's immune, they're like, no fucking way. It doesn't matter what else is going on. Like, okay, well, I gotta take her. Like, I don't really care if Maria understands or not at this point, because if I can help make this world better for the people that are still in it that I care about, I'm going to do that. And and Tommy agrees, right? Tommy says, "Yep, I'll do it."
Yeah.
And and I don't know, is this the conversation that Ellie claims to have overheard?
Yes. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
we get a scene of Ellie leaving the theater, and then her attitude, and then she'll admit it later that she overheard it.
Yeah, because in the game too, she runs away, right? You have to get a horse and go find her.
Yeah. There's a big gameplay moment of the whole shootout in the house and all that.
Yeah. Yep, so we get to skip that entirely, though, where we basically kind of, I believe, pick up with Joel trying to find Ellie, and she's up in a room reading a journal, right? And this scene is great for many reasons, but this is probably the most one-for-one scene from game to show I feel like we've seen so far, with the exception of some minor moments. But this is they made a point with this scene to mimic it as close as they possibly could, because I believe Craig Mazin said it's one of the most powerful moments in the entire game, and it sent chills down his spine when he first played it. So he wanted to do his best to recreate that and to have that level of impact exist in this medium as well. And I know Bella had a quick interview of saying about how nervous she was to do this scene, because, it's one thing when you're acting and you're allowed to kind of put your own flavor onto something, but if you're literally going in for an exact replication of something, that's got to be much, much harder to do. And when that scene is the most emotional impact that this one has, elevates it even further. And I don't know about you, man, but they nailed it, right?
Mm-hmm.
They fucking nailed it.
Of course.
This is the famous scene from the game where, they kind of, again, Joel is broken at this point. He's pretty much given up what his mission is, and he's gonna put Tommy in control. And Ellie kind of just gives him a choice, like, do you care about me or not? And he says, yes, I do. Okay, well then, let's fucking get this done. I can't. What is the exact line that causes Joel to say, "You're right"?
She confronts him on Sarah. Like, that's the big point.
That's right.
He's like,
that's
I'm
right,
not
that's
Sarah.
right.
Like, and he's like, no, you do not get to talk about this. Like, this is not, this is not something you get to even touch upon.
Yep.
And so, yeah, this is kind of like, they're kind of letting it out. Like, this is obviously where she wants her to be her father figure. Ellie does. And Joel doesn't want it. Again, he just broke down not 10 minutes ago and is like, he's not going to get hurt. He's not going to have that relive that Sarah moment again. So he's just not having it. It's great. It's just raw and frustrating, because you obviously want them to get along. But it's just so good, because that's how humans are. This is how humans act. They don't do what's best for them because they don't want to get hurt. They don't want to be vulnerable. So
I mean, it's hard to say. Yeah, what was the most impactful moment of this game for me? Especially the first time I played through it, I don't really remember. But it's got to either be the Henry and Sam moment or this scene for me. Obviously there's the end of the game's important and powerful and all, but I fully expected in this scene where Ellie's like, I'm not Sarah. You're the only one who's never fucking left me, or everybody's left me except fucking you. and Joel saying, "You're right." I was like, "Oh, he's gonna give her a hug or something," and then for him to go, "You're not my daughter, and I sure as hell ain't your dad." It's just like, "Oh no, that's the most mean thing you could have said, dude." And you know, and it's
again,
it's
at this point they've been together for so long too. You know, like it's like you would think there would be some kind of bond. Yeah, they survived so much. Yeah,
yeah. And so you know he leaves the room, and Ellie, you know, I guess just has to, whether she has a wants to or not, put her faith in this other guy that she has just met.
Or does she?
Or does she? Yeah, because we get to see. We don't have to be distraught for too long. Where I believe that the very next scene, right, she's kind of waking up, getting ready to leave with Tommy, and Joel is already down at the stables, kind of with a horse. I believe even Craig and Neil said that like he was planning on leaving, but he just couldn't because he still feels that draw to Ellie, whether he wants it or not, whether he thinks she's Sarah or not. It's there, and
the purpose. It's his purpose.
It's his purpose. His
as
purpose
the
to
show
be a dad.
Is brought up many times. It's his job to protect people, and Ellie is now that purpose. So.
Yep, and Joel kind of just has this moment. I was like, all right, well, I just thought she could have a choice, and all right, let's go. And Ellie just shoves the bag into his gut and says, "Fine, fuck it, let's just go. Let's forget about it. We're gonna go finish this thing. No big deal." And then we get a wonderful, wonderful scene of Joel finally embracing I am going to try and be your dad, and I'm going to start teaching you things. And what's the first thing that could be useful in this world? Well, shooting, right? I'm going to show you how to shoot. Yep, so I'm going to show you how to shoot a rifle. They're smiling with each other. He's kind of in this hugging stance with her where he's got his arm around her like any parent knows that you do with your kid when you're kind of showing them how to do something. Ellie's struggling with it, as every single parent, again, knows when you show your kid how to do something for the first time. They're like, this is impossible. I can't do it. Nobody could do this. You do it. And then he does it, and he gets a fucking perfect bullseye. And I loved what Craig and Neil said on their podcast about it because, I think they said something along the lines of, it's one of those moments that we all have where your dad becomes a superhero, or where your dad just, is able to do the impossible. Well, you don't know how they do it, but they do it. And I cherish those moments as a dad. I try to insert those moments anywhere I can with my son. If he's doing something, I'm like, oh, let me try. And if I can do it the first try, he's just, what? It's such a good feeling. And so, I was able to really connect with this scene, and it's the beginning of a beautiful thing, but it's also one of the most dangerous moments for them on a personal level, as people of the entire story know, where it eventually leads to.
Sure. And we also get some good lines here as they head to Eastern Colorado, this fake school. Where Joel explains that he was a contractor in the past, and that everybody loved contractors.
Nobody loves, that was really awesome.
Him explaining football to Ellie, just a lot of good stuff. But we gotta get to the infamous college, where I was waiting for the infamous scene. Because they get there. There are no fireflies, but there are, in fact, raiders there. Joel witnesses... Well, and there are monkeys. You have to mention the monkeys. But there are raiders there. And in the game... I guess we'll get to what happens here. So they try and get their way out of here. One of the raiders sneaks up on them again. I think almost he... Which one is Joel's bad ear? It's his right ear. Of course, he comes from that side. Yeah. They're always gonna point that out. A raider runs up on them with a bat from his right side. Joel gets in a tussle with him. In the chaos, Joel gets stabbed in the gut with the broken bat piece, pulls it out, blood gushing out of him. Thankfully, they get on the horse in time and run away. But I was really hoping for John's favorite scene of what really happens. In which, in a tussle, Joel falls from the second story to the first story and has a piece of rebar poked through his gut. I wanted that scene.
Yeah, I was stealing myself, getting ready for it. Like, I love horror, I love gnarly things, but there's something about that scene, man. That's just like it's just I don't know if it's because it feels real, because like you just start to think for a second about the fact of a piece of rebar going through you. It's not even sharp; it's just a blunt thing. It's just like
and it's going in one way, coming out the other.
going in, yeah, and and he's got to pull himself off of it, and it's just like, oh my god, I can't do this. But so not quite as bad here, but obviously the same result where as they're kind of going away, on the horse, Joel, he ain't looking too hot, man. He's hunched over, he's pale, he's clinging on for dear life, and he falls off that horse. And similarly to when Ellie had when Joel had his first panic attack, and Ellie was kind of like, "You can't leave me, like I'm fucked." Now she's really feeling that. Because Joel died, guys. The show's over. He's dead. Sorry.
Oh, we don't know what happens.
No, we don't know what happens to Joel, but he is on the ground. It's going to be a miracle to save this man, and I believe it cuts to black right about there, right?
Yeah. That's the end of the episode. So, yeah, just again another great episode. Really, with the anchor being the performances of everyone in this episode. The action was kind of on the down low. I think a lot of people are like still adjusting to like this isn't a video game. Like you're not gonna have extended shootouts and all that. Everything's gonna be quick and it's gonna be fast but all the beats are gonna be there. But still, just another great episode. I'm very excited. To keep going.
I liked what they had to say about this one too, where it's like, we felt that this was still one of the most action-packed episodes of the season. It's just from an emotional level. It's from a character level. It's not from physical bloaters coming out of the ground, but you watch the scene of Joel and Tommy and Joel breaking down, and like, it's you can't look away from that kind of stuff. It's so good, it's so well acted, and I just want to remind you, Nick, that I did say before this show even showed up, Bella's getting a nomination, Pedro's getting a nomination, Nick Offerman's getting a nomination, and I believe I threw Anna Torv in there, and I'm not so sure about that one, but for the other three, I'm standing confident with those.
Right.
And it's I'm looking right now. It's currently the 16th best show of all time, according to IMDb. So, watch out, Rick and Morty. You're number 15. It's coming for you.
Yeah. Oh, it'll pass it by the time this season's up. So
probably, yeah. I can't imagine, unless if it somehow, I don't know, pisses off. I don't know. They could get, quote unquote, woke with it again and piss off an entire group of people. But we'll see.
Yeah. The next episode is titled Left Behind, which shares the name of the DLC for Last of Us Part 1. So we as video game players definitely know what to expect, but this episode could easily be the best yet, without a doubt.
Yeah,
I mean, if Bella can pull it off, this is probably going to be the toughest test of her acting chops, I think, because she's going to be front and center the whole episode. So
yeah, this is a very, very intimate thing for her, and if the entire story of The Last of Us has the emotional highs and lows and things, the Left Behind, the DLC from the game, has those same low and highs, just kind of a little more concentrated. So, get ready for some, have your tissues ready. You might want them.
Yeah.
Might want them.
All right. So that is 6 things. Do we have anything to tease for next week? We are definitely going to have the bonus episode, so you get to hear us twice as much next week, as we'll be diving deep into Dead Space. The plan is to have it posted Monday the 27th, but if push comes to shove, it'll at least be out by the 28th. So if you are playing through Dead Space, plan on finishing it by then, because we'll be spoiling all of it.
Nice.
And then as for the next show, more Hogwarts Legacy.
No, yeah. For me, I'll be trying to. I think I'm going to try and finish Norco by next week. I'm going to make that my task, and then, if I don't want to do that, if I'm feeling more action heavy, I'm going to get my Elden Ring back on. But once I beat Norco, Elden Ring is primary focus until that's done. And hopefully I can get that done by Resident Evil, but I wouldn't fucking hold my breath. So we'll see.
Yeah. I'd expect a lot of topics to come up for the next few weeks as we kind of try and get through these big meaty games that we're playing. So And kind of a little bit of a breather between, like you said, we're a month away from Resident Evil 4, so we'll take the time to tackle these backlogs.
This is a good one, Nick. What's our runtime right now, man? Where are we at? This is a big boy.
We're at an hour and 46 minutes right now.
All right.
That's not adding the clips and all the songs.
Do you want to talk for 14 minutes about I Think You Should Leave? Just to hit 2 hours?
I'm good, man.
Yeah, me too. My son is probably mad at me. I told him I'd be done by 6, so yeah. Cool. All
right, so the song we're leaving you on, we've brought it up before. Streets of Rage 4 has an amazing soundtrack. It has not been featured as a song on this show, but I wanted to bring back the classic "They're Back" by Yuzo Koshiro. A great track. That whole game is amazing.
All right.
I kind of want to go back and play it.
And I just want to let you know, Nick, I'm taking off my pants and putting on my PJs right now.
Okay.
I just want you to envision that.
Okay.
That's all. That's all.
TMI, man. I don't think myself or the listeners need to know.
They want to hear it. Trust me. Trust me. It's my apologies for having my horrible voice this week on my horrible headset because I didn't think far enough ahead to get my nice mic. So I apologize to the listeners, all fans out there. Yep, there's my full name. Sorry, you're going to have to beat that one out, Nick. I love you all.
This podcast is ending abruptly.
Nick's going to kill me.
All right. So, enjoy the song, and then we will be back in a few days with that bonus episode, and then back in a week with 6 more things. So, bye, guys.
Bye, guys.